Hello to everyone. So I will present in English. Okay, so firstly, thank you for having me. Darko could not join, so I will be the main presenter today. I am representing also Meter organization, which is a private NGO working on several European projects for youth, trying to empower youth in non-formal learning, closing the gaps with some topics that are not in formal education at the moment, let's say European Green Deal and some sustainability topics. Now, today I will present you a short insight of one of the projects that we are currently implementing. It's called Building Bridges for Circular Economy by Fostering Youth Entrepreneurship. And within this project that started in February last year, I will present one of the key intellectual outputs or project results called Circular Economy and Green Entrepreneurship Competencies by Youth. So this is actually a field research analysis and presentation of results. So general background, which was already highlighted within this conference, I think, and we all also know about it a little bit, is that European economic growth and job depends on its ability to support the development of enterprises. And the importance of circular economy is also bringing a significant added value to it in the future and in the current situation. As a counter argument, in 2018, more than 5.5 million young people were neither employed, neither in education, which means that we are losing here some very valuable human resources development. The situation even worsened with the COVID crisis. And now in the post-COVID times, it is really important that we try to fix this situation. So as I mentioned before, this Building Bridges Erasmus Plus project aims to foster entrepreneurship education among youth because when young people get in touch with such programs as soon as possible, they are more likely to build up, open up, start companies. Also companies with, let's say, green, sustainable and circular note are obviously the future and the long-term success of European Union. A transition towards the circular economy, of course, is really dependent on the corresponding awareness and building up the competences and skills to perform such routines, not only in our everyday life, but also in the entrepreneurship concept. Therefore, Erasmus Plus project Building Bridges is offering a non-formal education opportunity for young people between 18 and 28 years old about the circular economy and green entrepreneurship topics. Now, one of the first activities that we did within this project was, of course, to make the state of the art, so the current overview of the situation within Belgium, Greece, Romania, and Slovenia, which are the partner countries in this project. The desk research aimed to expose, to highlight, and to identify the current existing good practices within the legislation of the countries, as well as educational offer in the formal and in the non-formal learning opportunities. And then, of course, to, let's say, agree on this competencies level, we went to perform a field research within youth, so within our target group, 18 to 20 years old, to ask them about circular economy and entrepreneurship knowledge levels. I will not tell you everything about the methodology and the questionnaire that we developed, as we don't have the time, but it was prepared by us, revised by the project partners, and then we aimed to include around 40 young participants from each country as an online questionnaire. It had 24 questions and they were based on a Likert scale answer options. So our, let's say, preliminary maybe hypothesis or expectation was that youth know about the circular economy and green entrepreneurship practices and principles, but they are not sufficiently educated on how to implement them or even use them as a career path or some startup, let's say, innovation process. And we were basically correct, because the youth competencies results were that you'd have heard about the topics before, however, they lack the knowledge and skills to employ such solutions into the environment. But it was also a positive surprise that majority, around 80% of the respondents, so from these 200 people, expressed they wish to gain more understanding on the topics, and they would like to engage in such non-formal activities in order to contribute their part to the higher levels of sustainability, because they also believe that circular economy is the tool for such actions on European and on the global level. Next up was also one of the questions that were really interesting was the one that we proposed several specific priorities within the Green Deal, so about energy, about biodiversity, about pollution, climate action, and we asked them on which topics specifically they would wish to achieve more education or more knowledge on. And it was really interesting that youth in all 4 countries, based on this, let's say, I think there were about 15 different answer options, all choose achieving resource efficiency, which means recyclability, reusability, upgradability, and durability, and the resource reduction. So how to reduce energy, water, carbon emissions, which was really interesting. And it also made easier for us to then in the future or in the present, let's say we are currently in this phase of the project, to prepare some educational material, which will be freely distributed among users and also available online, of course. So to conclude, our next steps in the projects, we need to improve youth competences in the fields of circular economy and green entrepreneurship in order to achieve a higher level of youth business activity. And the results that we gain from this preliminary field and desk research was used, as I said, in the e-course development. This e-course consists of 2 e-modules, each consisting up to 40 working hours. This means the developed content plus the individual work. The 2 e-modules are circular economy and green entrepreneurship, with each 4 topics identified within. We are currently in the development of these topics, and in the next week we are traveling to Brussels, where all the 5 partners from 4 different European countries will gather and have staff training, which means we will test the developed materials, improve, and further on in the upcoming months we will also carry out youth training in Romania, which will be to educate the first, let's say, preliminary group of young people in order to also gain additional feedback for possible improvements of the learning content. Then the project will end in April of next year, so in 2023. However, the developed educational materials, as well as the report from the preliminary research, will be, of course, available after the project end cycle, which I think is really important, and will also be translated into all partner languages, plus in English, obviously, which will serve also to wider, let's say, dissemination purposes, and maybe for some next steps or additional development of the course in the future years. So our impact that we were striving to achieve, or are still striving to achieve, is to empower young people with new skills and mindset to change for the better. Therefore, in our e-course, which we are preparing, will also be a lot of practical, let's say, exercises and individual work on case studies, existing good practices, thinking questions, and exercises, which will foster the active participation of young people. So not just to go through and maybe learn some statistics, but also to be able to implement its own business model and maybe also achieve some financing knowledge on how to actually realize such initiative. So I think this was the overall presentation of the project. If anyone has some other questions or would like to know more, here are some contacts which you can follow. I think I was in between the time frame, but yeah, if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eva. You were in the time frame, so thank you for your work also and presentation. So if there are any questions, you can ask Eva or Liliana if you would like to.
Yeah, I am very interested in this project. I know the project of Liliana, as you heard, but I don't know. I didn't know about your project until you registered for the conference. And I would like, I mean, it's very interesting project results.
Thank you.
And you have ambitious goals.
Yes.
So I'm interested, how are you connected with other actors in this field? For example, are you connected with the project Deep Demonstration Slovenia, which is a national project with high impact? And maybe you are considering the Green Comp, these competencies by the GRC. You can tell something about that?
Okay, so yeah, thank you for the question. We are mostly working in the non-formal learning environment, let's say, so we are not so much connected to the outside, let's say, networks or similar initiatives in Slovenia, but we are having several different projects also in this field, so in circular economy, green entrepreneurship, working with other, let's say, youth centers or NGOs within Europe. And we also try to always translate the materials and make it publicly used for free in order to then maybe establish some cooperation within the national environment.